What's good, y'all? I'm here with my wife, Haley, and we are here to introduce a new podcast that we've had an idea for a good year now called Saints by Number. Um, it's basically came from meeting local people here in the gallery and hearing everyone's stories that were just incredible. Things that people would call coincidences, but really these are miraculous things, and just showing that Jesus is alive in our culture today. And if these four walls could talk, basically, and if we could press record on half of the conversations that we've had here together with our community, we just thought that everyone should hear and should know about. And so we plan to interview anyone from bishops to priests to lay to family friends to athletes and celebrities, and just hear everyone's unique story. Everyone has a story to tell. And we're just excited to share these four walls with you guys. I guess I'll go ahead and share a little bit about who I am. I am first and foremost a husband to my beautiful wife, Haley Zumo. I'm a father to our two little girls, Lola and Josephine. And I'm a sacred artist. So that's why we're here today. If you know me from Baton Rouge, I am a cradle Catholic. I was brought up in the church, went to St. Thomas More, went to 3 high schools, so I triple dipped, went to Catholic High, went to Bishop Sullivan, which is now St. Michael's, and then graduated from Dunham. I was a basketball rat. My dad taught us 2 things: how to pray and play basketball. My brother and I both excelled in basketball, played at Belhaven University. My brother played at Lola, Mr. Basketball, if you know Luke Zumo. And then from there, I went to play on in college. I guess I'll back up a little bit. Did the triple dip in high school, went to Catholic, Bishop, and then Dunham. And, going to Dunham, I went from a big Catholic high school to a smaller Christian school. And so as I went to that school, the main reason was for basketball. I had my coach, Jonathan Pixley, there, and we never really entertained the fact of going there because of how expensive the school was. So we ended up getting on financial aid and basketball scholarship to go there. And so, everything was great. Got accepted into that school. And I remember we were choosing our non-core classes. And so, of course, I'm going to choose the 2 easy courses, choir and art. And I remember my high school art teacher, Miss Carol Hackler, almost kicked me out of our art class the first day because I was goofing off or flirting or whatever the case was. And basically, I remember that point in life, she forever changed everything because she got my mind right. And before I knew it, I was going after school. I was going before practice. I was going in my off hour and skipping some classes to go paint with Miss Hackler. And so high school was great, excelled in sports, got a scholarship to go to Belhaven University. I remember asking my coach, hey, I have a little bug for painting. Could I take a couple courses here? And he was like, no, you don't have time for that and this. So I kind of let it go to the side or whatever. And so played a year at Belhaven, got hurt, struggled with nagging injuries, was able to play my brother, and we beat my brother twice, which was nice, at Loyola. But ended up, throwing the towel in as far as basketball goes, and came back to Baton Rouge and goofed around for a couple years, did this, did that. And a rapper named Kevin Gates was actually a big local guy. If anyone from Baton Rouge listens to rap, you know of Kevin Gates. And he was coming to the Varsity Theater, and my buddy Casey Evans was doing promotions and booking him. And I was like, yo, like, I've done a couple paintings in high school. Like, if I paint his portrait, can I link up with him and meet him? And so Casey was like, yeah, sure, whatever. That sounds good. And so did the painting that week and brought the painting to the Varsity Theater. And Casey, for whatever reason, was busy probably with just booking and everything. And he said, No, he didn't answer his phone when I got there. So went in the concert, tried to carry the painting in. I was just going to hold it up and be like, hey, like, see what was going to happen. And so the varsity was like, no, you can't walk in with that. You know,
how big was it?
It was 2 foot by 4 foot.
Okay.
So the varsity theater was like, no, you can't bring that in here. So I was like, screw this. I'm paying this. I'm getting it to him. And so I went and brought it back to my car. And as the concert was ending, I ran to my car, picked it up, and ran to the back of the varsity outside. And I was like, I'm getting this to him. And so I can vividly remember as he was closing his door, I held up the painting and was like, Kevin. And he looked back and like was wide-eyed. And so from that point, I think life changed. Got to chop it up with him for like 45 minutes and gave him the painting. And then the guys who opened for him were like, yo, we're opening for Drake next week. You should do the same thing. And I'm like, whatever. I wasn't painting at this time, mind you, full time. It was just kind of on a whim. And so the next thing I know, I'm driving to New Orleans to meet these 2 rappers who I'm really close with now. But like on a whim, I'm like going to meet these 2 dudes in New Orleans. And so the next thing I know, I'm playing FIFA, drinking and doing all the things backstage with Drake and his crew. And so from that point, I kind of found a market. I think it was like the next week I did stuff for Snoop Dogg. The next week it was just all the rappers, Rick Ross, Meek Mill, Wale, all the guys of that generation. And so I found ways to make a business of it. I eventually started doing live paintings for them while they perform, was gifting things from the venue and myself, and then doing collaborations or whatever. Long story short, we did stuff with the VMAs. We did stuff with MGM. We did the Super Bowl with Pitbull and Flo Rida. And so I found a quick rise to success and as far as the secular world goes. And so I guess, for lack of a better term, I saw a lot of evils that, were eye-opening for me in that industry, not just the rap industry, but celebrities and making money and traveling. And ended up dropping everything and moving to Florence, Italy, where my brother-in-law had like signed up for the school in Florence, the Catholic Sacred Art School. And so he was like, yo, like, I guess he might have seen like how I was struggling potentially. I don't really remember how that went. But so he was like, yeah, you should send your resume in. And I had done a couple of sacred pieces just on a whim. And so I sent it in and sent why I wanted to go to the school and how I wanted to, when I meet these high-end celebrities, these A and B-list celebrities, like what am I bringing to the table when I meet them? And so I ended up getting accepted, raised money to go live out there, and yeah.
When you got accepted, is it a lot of people getting accepted?
Or?
It
was, yeah, we were 2 of 12 that got accepted that year. And yeah, just went to Florence, learned a lot, carried a lot of demons with me, and had a lot of de-shedding of self was kind of the theme of my trip out there. It was a lot of humbling, humility. Like in the States, like we pride ourselves on sports. Well, we go out there and I think that I'm like Mr. Art and I think I'm decent. And so we go out there and my teachers are like 18-year-old kids. I'm 29, mind you. And so naturally here, we play sports. Well, naturally there they paint and draw. And so not only was I like out of my comfort zone and the language barrier and writing.
So you thought you were good. Yeah, it kind of took you off that pedestal.
I was decent,
yeah.
But quickly was humbled in all of the things, not just art, but also, all the amenities of life here in the States. I had like a big Jeep jacked up on nice tires. We have heaters. We have AC. So go there and I'm riding bikes and walking 8 miles to my class and back. And if you know anything about Florence, you know that it rains a lot there. It's a lot like the weather here. And so I'm walking through the rain every day. I'm boiling water and putting it in rubber bags to heat up in our bed.
Didn't you have a bike though?
I eventually got a bike.
Yeah.
I saved up a little money to get a bike, which was nice. And then if you know anything about Florence too, like I think the biggest crime rate is stealing of bikes. And so you have to put like 2 and 3 and 4 locks on your bike. So it just became a hassle to like carry your bike around. I think the pedals broke on mine. So I'm pretty sure that the people who were selling the bikes were actually stealing them from us too.
Probably, and then
Reselling them because they
sure.
broke fairly quickly. But yeah, so was fortunate enough to be in Florence for a year, and they specialize in sacred art. It's a Catholic school. And it's more of the traditionally Renaissance style realism that we learned. And like I said, it was a lot of growth, as a 29-year-old who had gotten out of a long-term relationship with someone who I helped raise their child. And so I had attachment issues to that. And, battling alcoholism and all of like the things that you don't think are just like the commonalities of living in Louisiana. I feel like all we do is party and drink. And so I think that those wounds were deeper than I had really imagined until I went out there and kind of dealt with them. And so, yeah, come back. My grandfather was passing, Papa Speedy. And so came back to Baton Rouge to see him. And luckily it lined to where I got to visit him for like 2 weeks before he passed. And randomly enough, my back goes out, whether it's from posture or playing ball or flying back and forth from Italy. So I wasn't able to go back to Florence. So I was able to luckily caretake my grandmother, Mama Helen, who had just lost her husband. So I was able to caretake her instead of going back to Italy. And so get back into the business here, do a few big projects. I did LSU basketball right away. And so I was still like doing a little bit of the secular stuff then. But more than anything, it was that time with my grandmother that was just so special. And so like I think it was subliminally preparing me for my wife and little girls today. Just the unconditional love of my grandmother. My younger cousin, Sarah LaSavio, she worked for a stained glass artist named Steve Wilson. So my intentions were to eventually go back to Florence, but my back went out and it was something that I could never get ahead of. And so I was able to still kind of work on the side, make a little money through my studio at Steve Wilson's. And then COVID hits, and the world stops. And so basically it got to the point where I knew that I wasn't going to go back to Italy. My priority was my grandmother and kind of figuring out what I can do with the year that I was in Italy, and kind of transitioning fully into doing sacred art full time. And so, like I said, I had teetered back and forth still just to make ends meet. Did that big project with LSU, basketball. I'm trying to think of who else I did stuff with, but that's what it was. I got my first sacred art project with a priest named Father Don Calloway, who, if you know, his story is pretty crazy. You have to look him up. But he was writing a book on the consecration to Saint Joseph. It's a 33-day consecration. It's a big fat book. And I forget how he found out about me, but he did like crazy research, did a lot of time to get it approved of Saint Joseph Day and a consecration to him. It was eventually accepted by the Vatican and all this stuff. And so he commissioned me to do a painting for the book of Saint Joseph and Christ Child. And so that was kind of like my transition into, okay, here we go. Like I can kind of find my way into the sacred and start making sense of it. And still battling demons, living almost like a double life, like still going out, dealing with the, struggles of abusive alcohol, partying, and all these things I say like are quote unquote abusing it. And it's just more of like the way of life here in Louisiana. It's like we drink, we party, and it just becomes this monotonous thing that I had to get ahead of. And so anyway, ended up coming across a buddy of mine, a mutual friend, who was buying a space here in Baton Rouge and was like, hey, I know you're wanting to go bigger with your art. I have this space off of the interstate. And so, mind you, this is peak COVID, so the prices have tripled and everything. And so one way or another, I end up accepting the space here where we are today at the gallery. And that was like a whole growing pain of a whole year of building out this space, trusting a lot in the Lord that things are going to work out.
Our story started off very, very loose. And I think that with us, we had mutual friends, and we were both kind of in our own relationships at the time when we met. So we were always friends, and I loved your art, and I followed you. And I think within like a couple of years of knowing each other, we kind of parted ways in our own relationships that we were in. So you had a relationship and I had one, and we kind of parted, and then we just started hanging out a little bit more with the same crowd that basically introduced us. And from there, I think it was like during Mardi Gras, and we were just, hanging out more and becoming a little bit closer. And I had just, right when COVID was shutting everything down, I was graduating college. So it was right when I graduated college that I found out that I was pregnant with our little Lola.
Yeah, we did not stay 6 feet apart.
Yeah, that's should definitely be a t-shirt for us. But yeah, and during that time, I guess, we could get a little deep with it, but I didn't know you really that well. We were not in a relationship, and when I told you that this child, could be yours, from the get-go, you were very, I don't know what the word is, but just very comforting to me, knowing that I just told you over the phone, for one, and two, not being in a relationship, not knowing like how you would react, what you would say. You just kind of basically said, I'm here for you, and let's talk about this and what it means to bring a child into this world. And immediately I was like, oh my goodness, okay, I could like him just a little bit.
Thank you, St. Joseph.
Yeah, so we actually met at La Madeleine's. We had lunch, and we just kind of went back and forth on how we were both raised, how we see ourselves as parents, and what does it look like, raising this child together. And we both were like, yeah, like, let's do this. We can do it. And I figured we were going to be great co-parents, I was like, yeah, we'll do this and that, but we're going to be great co-parents, and we'll do this together. But you had a different view of what really co-parenting was, or I don't even think you heard that point because that's not how you were raised. So, and all throughout us having this conversation, I just still didn't know if, I was really going to keep her and try and have both of us be the parents. I was given a lot of options, and I knew that I was going to have her, but I didn't know if I was going to give her up for adoption or not. And I think just you and what God, the graces that he sowed upon you to like say to me in that moment was just like reassuring. And so I just remember going, okay, we can do this. Like, we can do this together. He comes from a good background. Like, he seems to be like, he's going to be a good dad. So I think it was like in that moment, I was just like very assuring that we were going to keep her. And then all of a sudden, out walks my sister and, her boyfriend at the time. And I said, oh my goodness, what are you doing here? And I go, oh, I'm just having lunch, this is my friend Jacob. And out of all the people,
you have been like crying or something,
there,
she's probably like,
yeah, I was tearing up. I was crying. I get emotional very easily. But yeah, it was just weird how in that moment, I'm like, out of all the people, that my sister walks out and comes up on us. So that was kind of neat. and special in a way that, I can tell the story today. But so fast forward a little bit. I'm pregnant and we're going through the motion and all the things, and Jacob keeps trying to reach out, and at this time I was not at like a FaceTimer. I'm still not. Or like really answering people's phone calls. And he was constantly FaceTiming me, trying to phone me, and I just keep hitting decline. Like, man, like he's needy. I cannot do this.
Great Wall of China.
Yeah.
Great Wall of Haley.
Yeah, absolutely. And so he kept trying, and I was just like, no, like we're okay, we're friends. I'll answer when I want to answer. So I know that was probably wrong, because you're just genuinely checking on me. Mm-hmm. I'm like, man, this guy's controlling. But yeah, I think that fast forwarding, leading up to Lola and just the birth of her, I just saw you like step into this father figure role and this loving role that I was immediately drawn to. And it just made me, like, I feel like both of us, we loved her so hard. And that's such a grace from God of just like a child, but also like the love that he gives us to parent. And like both of us coming together as one was just a beautiful thing. And I think from there we just knew we were in a relationship,
Was it like 3 months in?
Yeah, I think it was like
Finally
3
broke
months
down
in.
The wall.
So right as Lola made 3 months, we were like, okay, I guess we're gonna try this out and see how it works. She gets put in the hospital all of a sudden, and we baptize her.
Yeah,
like
it was like
baptism.
A 4-night battle of
Yeah.
like potential meningitis or something.
Oh, it was like a false positive of meningitis, and then they were like, "Oh, it's just a UTI."
And so yeah, I called my brother because like of course like upon having the baby, the first thing I was thinking is like, when are we gonna get her baptized? So I was talking to my brother, and I'm like, I don't know how. Like I'm just trying to peek over these walls that she has up, and it was just perfect timing. I was like, yo, I'm texting my brother. I'm like, speed dial or speed text these whoever priest you can get.
Yeah.
So he was like, yeah, this is perfect time to ask her, like, can we baptize her? And so you said yes, and I was like, boom. So Luke's texting XYZ priest, and Father Brad Doyle, shout out, came through. And I think you being able to witness that sacrament of baptism and just like all the feels, like we're going through it with little pitiful Lola being sick. And Father Brad came through and did the swoop of the sacrament of baptism, and it was just beautiful. And so that was like, I feel like that was like your first tidbit outside of like me and Lola going to mass every Sunday, that you were like, okay, there's something to this. And so that was a beautiful moment for me too, to just like have you like take that little wall down and kind of like let things roll.
I mean, seeing that and like you said, having all those feelings, I was definitely like in the moment and very thankful that he came and baptized her. But yeah, that was probably my first like step into the faith of just like the sacraments and getting that done and how they make you feel, of just like that grace and receiving that was kind of like a weight lifted off of my heart in that moment, not knowing still after her baptism of what is going on. So that was amazing to feel that and experience that. And then I guess leading up to, just us trying to parent, trying to learn what type of parents we are.
Yeah, we don't really know each other.
We don't really know each other at this point. So I'm reacting away and he's reacting away, and we're just butting heads, and we don't really know how to properly, just like communicate.
Well, rewind too. My home is getting built. I'm like I transitioned out of caretaking grandma, and my mom and my aunt kind of take her. And so my house is getting built. So the first 4 months of Lola, we're like living at your dad's, we're living at your mom's. And I'm driving every morning and night back and forth to my Aunt Ava's, who I'm living with at the time, until our house is built.
Yeah.
and how, I don't know how long that was, but that was pretty grueling too. But, yeah, so I asked you to marry me how long after? Lola was like, it was like on Lola's second birthday. Are we skipping a lot?
Yeah. So I think, yeah, just us like learning each other was definitely like a battle at first, but then like just figuring us out and us really, choosing each other and choosing to love one another was definitely like a grace from God, because I feel that people talk about, finding your perfect person and this is my person, but God has a plan, and trusting in him and knowing that it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and knowing how to communicate properly and like keeping the Holy Spirit in the middle of it, so
Yeah, we did a lot of growing over a year and a half.
yeah.
I'm actually like 55 now.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but for us, it was, I think you were ready before I was. Like you were like, I'm ready for this. Like, Haley's the one. And I'm like, I don't know. I still, for whatever reason, my childhood trauma was like, no, I need some more from you before.
You put some more walls up?
Yeah, I need a few more walls. I only have 2 up. I need 2 more to create a room. But no, I think, yeah, just our relationship was just growing. And I think in those years of loving Lola and watching her grow into different stages of life too, like as she was getting older, we were just diving more deep into ourselves and who we were and what we wanted as a family. And so we were just growing and growing and growing more in love in that.
When did you start working here? I'm trying to think.
Well, I mean, from the moment Lola was born, you were needing certain things done. Yeah, like email marketing and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that wasn't till like...
That was before we were ever really together, because I was doing it at my mom's house. And that was before I went back. So, yeah, I was helping you out a little bit. And then, why are we jumping?
I don't know.
How did you just jump?
No, but...
Way to crash.
I don't know.
Way to crash. No, but you, it was Lola's second birthday, and you asked me to marry you. I thought we were just having a parents' night out. Do I need to stop? Okay. I thought we were just having a parents' night out, and...
Yeah, so we have Lola's birthday here at the gallery, second birthday.
Yeah.
And I had been like swindling your ring. So I had ordered your ring through our friend George, and it wasn't coming in. Yeah. XYZ. I forget how crazy that story was. We'll say that for another day. But yeah, you go ahead and you tell your side.
No, just vibes were high, and all of our family was here in our own space that, this is our baby together. And all of our family getting together is something that I really cherish and love, because, I come from a very split family. So everybody was here, and it was great. And we went and ate at sushi at Tsunami, which is like a little rooftop place in Baton Rouge downtown. And I was like, yes, I get to get this expensive sushi. We get to have a little night out. What a breather. And I ordered the food. We ordered a little sake, and I didn't even get my food. I did not get to eat my delicious, expensive little sushi.
So like rewind. So we're walking in, and so they had like, someone had called for us to get the reservations or whatever. So we get in there, and like they all know what's going to happen. And
we
so
sit down and they go, "Are you celebrating?"
Waitress is like, "You celebrate anything?" And I'm like, "No." And Haley's like, "Yeah, it's our daughter's birthday." And I'm like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
And so anyway, like 20 minutes roll by, we have some sake, we're ordering edamame, whatever. And so I'm like trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. And all of a sudden these fireworks start like booming off
on the water.
On the water overlooking to the bridge. And I remember you like kind of looking back, and I'm like, is this a sign from God? This is my time. And like
Yeah.
the fireworks like keep rolling. It's been like over 5 minutes. That's a long time for fireworks.
Yeah.
And so, oh yeah, that was another thing. So like you were supposed to sit next to me,
Yeah.
but I had the ring in my pocket.
No, I wasn't supposed to. I like sitting next to
Yeah.
you. I don't like.
And
I
I'm
like
nah,
cuddling.
let me
in the
look at
booth.
you. And so, yeah, so we were sitting across from each other. And anyway, fireworks are going and they keep going. And I'm like, what the heck? So pull the ring out, put it on the table. And I'm like, Haley. And I guess I said it kind of funny. And you looked back and you were like, what? And so anyway, that happened. And so like everyone at the restaurant sees me like kind of get halfway on a knee between
Yeah,
tables.
they thought the fireworks were you, and then
They were like, did you do this? And I was like, no. But yeah, it was a perfect little nonchalant moment that I didn't get those fireworks. I could have claimed them.
Yeah, and I don't think I talked. I think I just cried, and you were like, "Is that a yes?" I didn't even say yes yet because I was just so emotional, and I was so emotional that I had no appetite after that. Like you could have, waited till after I ate my sushi, but you didn't. It's okay. It's okay. So fast forward now, we had just had our second little girl. We've only been married. We got married in August of 2023. So we've been married a year now. Feels like forever. We definitely moved a lot of mountains.
Yeah, we did an awesome program called Witness to Love, marriage prep before we got married. Then we got married through Sacred Heart with Father Josh. Shout out Father Josh.
Mm-hmm. And he right then, before even marrying us, he said, "You want to convert? I'll do it right now."
Yeah.
And if y'all know him, that's just his energy. That's him.
Right.
And I was like, "No, I'm okay. Like, we're just gonna get married. I'm already letting him have the Catholic Church."
Yeah. So like, let's talk a little bit about that. Of like, you working with me. Me and Lola are going to mass every Sunday. Like, when did
just
you?
my conversion.
Yeah. Tell us your story.
Yeah. So, I guess, leading up to my conversion, you always were going to mass every single Sunday, and you would always, push me a little bit. Hey, like, are you coming? Are you not? Are you not? Are you coming? Are you coming? And most times I would go, and then rarely I would say, like, I'm just gonna sit this one out. Like, I just need a little minute. Sometimes I was just overwhelmed in the mother role, and I just didn't feel like going, and I just needed a little bit. It was I guess you could say a little overwhelming because I just didn't know what to do, when to stand, when to sit, when to kneel, what are we saying, why are we saying it, and then me, I just it was a little overwhelming for me. So I would take a seat back sometimes, and I guess just that consistency of going and then working with you, also learning
Right,
about.
you're kind of forced into it. I'm living that life.
I mean, through the business, just like any product you're selling, you have to learn about it to know how to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was learning about, the saints and Mother Mary, and I was drawn to the saints, I guess you could say, of learning about them and how they're just normal people and live normal lives for the most part.
Doing extraordinary things,
yeah,
extraordinary sacrifices.
Yes, that we literally can all do, but choose, not to sometimes. And I just felt drawn to them of, okay, like this is why we pray to this person. Or also like Saint Anthony, learning about Saint Anthony. Okay, if you've lost your keys, which we did that yesterday and it was a huge fiasco, you pray to Saint Anthony, and he's the saint, patron saint of lost things. And so learning about the saints and how there's you can pray to a saint for everything.
For their intercession, right?
Yeah, for their intercession. So I was learning about them, and so much that I wanted you to do on the feast days of certain saints that I was learning about, a sketch or a drawing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would have you sketch the saint of the day, and I would post it, and I would read about it, give a little blurb of like what I took from that saint and how it's important today in our society. And so learning through that, and going to mass, I would ask, why do we say this? Why do we do this? Jesus up there, y'all, you believe that that is a true presence of Jesus. And so I would ask, I think the word that comes to mind is reverence. Like you would always say, it's reverence, and be reverent, Lola. Like, don't act up. Let's be reverent for Jesus. And
right, and why?
yeah, and so I think I was really drawn to that too, because coming from a Baptist background to really non-denominational, because most Baptist churches went non-denominational, and where it was like really big, theatrical, and of course I praise and worship, but I felt like I was needing like a deeper truth and a deeper understanding to my faith and like some realness. And I guess being in theater for 4 years, I felt it was very theatrical. And so just being in the church, I felt, I don't know, I guess you could say like the presence of Jesus just slow me down and calm me. And I heard my own thoughts, and I had time to like really think what was on my heart to like pray for. And so when we would go up there, and you would accept, the Eucharist after he confessed when we weren't married yet. I felt like I could really get my blessing, even though I wasn't accepting Jesus Christ. And I would go back, and I would just like begin to like thank him for my blessings, and thank him for my family that I had, and everything that I basically prayed for that you didn't know that I prayed for. I prayed for an athlete, and I got one, even though I didn't know you during your basketball days. But also, but also just like a true father, and somebody who is just there for their family above all else, and just a man of God. So in that moment, I really felt Jesus and like his graces. And so I was like, okay, like I kind of changed in that moment in how I listened and respected Catholicism. And so I kind of wanted to know more, I felt like, okay, I know the saints, I know this, I know that. But then I started actually listening to the words and certain things that we say throughout the Mass. Yeah. And I'm drawn to them. And so also at this moment, we were watching the series The Chosen. And so when the soldier, he needs help, and he is in the same room of Jesus, and he gets on his knees, and he says those words, I'm not worthy that you should enter under my roof, but only say the word, and my soul shall be healed. And I was like, oh, wait, we say that in the Mass, and it clicked. And I was like, no way. So you're bowing now, like you're kneeling, not bowing. You're kneeling down, and we say those words, and Jesus is in front of you. And it made me think like, man, I am so sinful. And if Jesus was in front of me, which he is, because we believe that, and he's on the altar, so he's in front of me, and all the sins and everything that I've committed, and just all the wrong and all the hurt and all the things that I feel daily, like when I'm in Mass and I'm kneeling and I say those words, like I feel like my soul is like now cleansed, my heart has like a weight lifted off of it, so now I can, go up to the altar and accept Jesus. So in that moment, I was like, man, I kind of craved that. I wanted to now like say those words and accept Jesus, like eating him and taking him into my body. Because when I think that when I, consume him, then it makes me a holier person and a better person. And I strive to be like Christ. And so when I consume him, like that's what I wanted to do. So I felt like
Powerful.
having, seeing that and just being on that path led to my conversion. And we actually met a lady named V, who was my sponsor, and Mr. Paul, he's a farmer.
Another day.
Yeah, so that's another
Amazing
day. But
story.
they came to the gallery, and we heard their story. And we got close with them. They kept coming here and meeting a few times. And she's a Buddhist convert. So she moved me too. She's a mom. And I cried multiple times. And after one session, she looked at me and goes, okay, when you're ready, you let me know. I sponsor you.
And I was like, today?
And yeah, jokingly, you're like, today? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Why not? And, God's
Because I had kept trying to like bulldoze you into, because I wanted you to receive confirmation like prior to our wedding. Like I wanted you to receive Eucharist at our wedding, but it wasn't the time. But yeah,
she said, no, I'll be your sponsor. You let me know. And so I think from there, we kind of just called up Father Josh and said, she's ready. She's ready.
Yeah, she's ready.
Let's get this going. And so from there, I think it was past when RCIA was, because it was it was past that point.
Right.
So he said, I have somebody for you that can do like a one-on-one RCIA. And I said, okay, great. Who is she? Miss Jennifer Monet. And so she actually, one of her daughters helped with the painting class. And so we kind of knew of her, and I loved her already. And I was like, yes, I'm excited. So she came multiple times throughout the month.
Once a week,
and,
right?
Yeah. And just led me through my journey. And I was intaking so much and why we do it.
That special treatment, yeah.
Yeah, and just the Mass and all the things, and learning about the sacraments and how important and the graces that you receive from that. And, as I guess just a normal married lady, I can say like receiving that grace from when we were married, like the graces that we were feeling, and physically, emotionally, spiritually. Yeah, I think that it was just a beautiful thing. So I actually,
about how many months ago? Like 4 months ago?
Yeah, so I converted July 6th, which is St. Maria Goretti's feast day.
Right. Pregnant with Josephine, our second.
Yeah, I was pregnant with Josephine. But I will say it was crazy that I picked that date. Like, it was just a random, what's available, what's open on our calendar, and I said July 6th. And like looking back at it, it was St. Maria Goretti's feast day, and I said, Jacob, this is so crazy. No coincidences. This is the first saint that I made you sketch, and I learned about her, and she's the youngest saint. And so her story, it was just weird how that was full circle. That was full circle.
Yeah. And so today we have had 3 months ago almost, we've had our second child, Josephine.
Bakita.
When she acts up, we call her Bakita after saying Josephine Bakita. But yeah, I guess to kind of wrap up things, we just kind of bulldozing our way through the industry now. And, what this podcast is about, just to reiterate, we've moved a lot of mountains, and my whole brand from the start has been kind of the guy who's been on both sides of the track. I come from the secular to the sacred, and I'm just kind of that bridge to both. And so at this point, me and Haley, we've just met so many great people through our painting classes, through just working with the church, through working with priests, athletes, whoever. And so I think until we started doing those painting classes, I didn't understand what community actually meant. And so, like we brought up, just meeting XYZ people, we're really seeing the face of Jesus through community and friendships. And we just want to share our experience and their experience, and just to show people that Jesus truly is on fire right now. And I feel a rejuvenation of the faith, of the Christian faith, from within, from the people, from the bottom up. And so, we are here to just be authentically ourselves, just to be here and just spread a little bit about art, a little bit about faith, a little bit about the secular world and how they converge. So we're excited for the future, and we'll be pumping out episodes weekly. with all kinds of different characters. So stay tuned.
Yeah.